I remember the day we were supposed to leave like it was printed on my bones. I had planned everything. Flights, rental car, even dinner reservations at that place she swore she'd seen on a travel blog. The one with fairy lights strung through olive trees and a view so perfect it looked photoshopped in real life. It was our anniversary trip, 5 years of marriage, 10 years of knowing each other, and one husband still foolish enough to believe in shared sunsets and couple spot treatments. The flight out was smooth. She wore the scarf I got her last Christmas and held my hand through turbulence like we were still that couple in love. We even laughed watching that cheesy movie with the talking dog on the in-flight screen. That was Thursday. Friday, she didn't feel well. Said her stomach was off. Probably the fish from the night before. I offered to stay back. She insisted I go explore, see the ruins, take photos. I'll be better tomorrow, she said. Don't waste the whole day on me. I believed her. I kissed her forehead and left. Like a good husband. Like a man unaware he's been written out of his own honeymoon sequel. I spent the day wandering dusty trails and taking pictures I never intended to frame. Kept glancing at my phone, checking for a feeling better. Text that never came. By late afternoon, I was heading back. Some part of me, call it instinct, call it the moment before the curtain falls, was already uneasy. But fate, as always, had a flair for theatrics. I got halfway back to the hotel when I realized I'd forgotten my wallet. Rookie mistake. I'd stopped at a little roadside vendor, bought a bottle of olive oil and some candied almonds for her, like a fool, and left the whole thing sitting on a stone bench when I rushed out. So I turned back. And I didn't come alone. Another tourist, kind guy named Ryan, was jogging by, and I asked if he'd seen a wallet. He had. Said he turned it in at the hotel front desk. We walked back together. We were chatting about sports. His team, my team. Small talk. Until we reached my hotel room door. But let's just say that room wasn't occupied by one sick woman waiting for her husband to come back with almond souvenirs. No. It held a performance. One I didn't buy tickets for. Let's rewind a few hours before the unraveling. She texted me that morning with a little sick emoji and the words, "I'll just rest today." Sorry, babe. I replied like any decent man would. No worries. Rest up. I'll bring you something sweet. She didn't respond. I chalked it up to sleep. Or nausea. Or maybe Netflix had kidnapped her for a rom-com binge marathon. Who knows? Meanwhile, I went out like a tourist trying to outrun a hunch. I took selfies at cliffs I didn't care about. Bought a magnet shaped like a goat. Ate alone at a cafe where the waitress smiled at me like she knew I wasn't supposed to be alone. But here's the part that keeps ringing in my head like a broken fire alarm. I believed her. All of it. The stomach bug. The need for rest. The fact that I was still, in her eyes, the husband. The man she wanted to be with. The man she wanted to be seen with. But in hindsight, she was never sick. She was staging. Setting the scene. Tucking guilt under hotel blankets and spraying perfume over infidelity like it was just another wrinkle in the itinerary. Now, let me bring you back to that hallway. I just walked in with Ryan, the guy who found my wallet. We thanked the concierge, I signed for my ID, and made the short trek up to our floor. And that's when I saw it. Our door. Not locked. Not even fully closed. Just resting there, like it had nothing to hide. I put my hand on the knob. Paused. Some instinct deep in my spine told me to turn back. To walk away and keep the mystery intact. But I didn't. I opened it. The doors swung open with the soft click of a decision I couldn't take back. The first thing I noticed was her laugh. Not the fake one she used at my office parties, the real one. The one she hadn't used around me in months. It floated out of the bathroom like steam from a crime scene. Light. Careless. Happy. Then came the voice that answered it. Not mine. Male. Confident. Too comfortable. The kind of voice that doesn't ask permission because it already has the key. I stepped in. Quiet. Measured. No dramatic entrance, no door slam, no movie soundtrack swelling in the background. Just me, standing in a hotel room built for two, staring at a scene that had rewritten its guest list. She was in a robe that wasn't mine. Standing by the window, holding a wine glass at 2 in the afternoon, looking like Betrayal in high definition. He was shirtless. Of course. Leaning against the bathroom door frame like he paid the rent. They both turned when I stepped in. She blinked first. Not in shock, no. She didn't drop the glass or stammer or run. Just raised an eyebrow, tilted her head, and muttered, "Logan." Like I was early to a meeting she'd hoped would end before I arrived. He didn't say anything. Just stood there, trying to figure out if I looked like the type who swung fists or swallowed pain. Joke's on him. I do both. I looked at her. Then at him. then back at her. "You're not sick," I said flatly. She had the nerve to smirk. "Guess not." I didn't yell. I didn't ask who he was. I didn't throw a chair or shout about love or promises or rings. I just walked over to the dresser, grabbed my wallet, and nodded. "Thanks for the honesty," I said, even though there was none in the room. And I left. No fanfare. No slam of the door. Just the kind of silence that follows a man who realizes the worst part of being lied to is how much you wanted to believe it. But the real twist? The next morning at breakfast, she walked into the hotel restaurant with mascara still fresh from last night's mess, probably hoping to find me groveling, broken, or at least gone. But I wasn't gone. I was already seated, smiling, with her friend, the one who helped plan our anniversary trip, the one who told me, weeks ago, "You deserve better." And I was just getting started. You ever see someone walk into a room and instantly regret every decision that led them there? That was her. Ashley, draped in a flowing blouse that didn't match her usual style, sunglasses too big for indoors, walking like someone who spent the night making excuses and the morning trying to believe them. She hadn't seen me yet. Not fully. But her eyes were already scanning the restaurant, probably expecting me to be gone, vanished with my pride in tow, licking my wounds in some airport lounge or crying into an overpriced whiskey at the hotel bar. But I wasn't gone. I was sitting at a corner table, black coffee in hand, fresh toast on the plate, and her best friend Olivia across from me, mid-sip on a mimosa and mid-smirk like this breakfast was already a 5-star experience. Olivia didn't even look surprised to see Ashley. No, she looked prepared. Like she'd been waiting for this scene to start, popcorn in hand. Ashley stopped mid-stride. I locked eyes with her over the rim of my cup and gave a small, casual nod. Nothing dramatic. Just a good morning. "I see you're not dead after all" kind of acknowledgement. She blinked behind her sunglasses, then stepped forward, hesitant now. The bold, shameless woman from yesterday had shrunk an inch or two overnight. "Logan," she said, voice just loud enough to carry. "Can we talk?" I leaned back in my chair and raised my eyebrows. "Morning to you too." Her gaze flicked to Olivia, who calmly lifted her fork and stabbed a piece of melon like it was a shared ex-boyfriend. Ashley's voice dropped half an octave. "Alone." "I'm having breakfast," I said, motioning to the table. "With a guest." "Are you serious?" she hissed. "As a funeral," Olivia chimed in, then added, "Would you like to join us? Or are you still digesting yesterday's room service?" Ashley's mouth opened, then closed. No words, just the sound of her brain throwing a tantrum in silence. You see, Ashley and Olivia weren't just friends. They were the type of women who did facials together, planned double dates that never happened, and had matching bracelets from that weekend in Napa where I wasn't invited. But there was always something in Olivia's eyes when she talked about Ashley, something measured, like she knew things. And now, it turns out, she did. "I didn't think you'd be so petty," Ashley said finally, arms folded, lips pursed in that familiar way she used when the Amazon package came a day late. "No," I said calmly, "you thought I'd be so broken I'd crawl away quietly." Ashley looked like she wanted to slap the table. Or Olivia. Or fate in general. "I didn't ask for this to happen," she muttered, glancing toward the door. "No," I said again. "You planned for it to happen while I was out sightseeing, remember?" The accidental affair was more organized than our trip itinerary. Olivia reached for her mimosa again, swirling it with one finger on the stem. "You know," she said thoughtfully, "you could have just told him. Or dumped him. Instead of lying, cheating, and pretending food poisoning meant a shirtless man in a hotel robe." Ashley's mask cracked for a second. "Don't you dare pretend you're innocent," she snapped. "You knew about Chase." Olivia smiled. "I did. And I also told him." She nodded toward me. "You forgot I hate being lied to almost as much as he does." That was the moment it hit Ashley. That Olivia wasn't the surprise, she was the setup. The quiet text 2 weeks ago. "Hey, I've noticed something weird. Call me when you can." The side hugs that lingered too long. The invitation to brunch 2 days before the trip, where Olivia kept staring a little too hard at Ashley's phone. Ashley narrowed her eyes. "You're pathetic." Olivia shrugged. "Maybe. But I didn't sleep with a married woman while her husband bought me souvenirs." And that was when Ashley spun around and walked out. Not a single word more. Just the swish of a blouse, the click of heels, and the sound of a woman who finally ran out of people willing to cover for her. I didn't look away. I didn't sigh. I just took another bite of toast and turned back to Olivia. "Well," I said. "That was fun." She raised her glass. "To truth bombs and room service karma." We clinked. "You might think this was revenge. That I did this to hurt her." But no, this wasn't revenge. This was a message. She wanted me to feel small, wanted me to walk away like the wounded man in every story she could tell her friends. But I wasn't giving her that narrative. She got caught. And I walked out not with heartbreak, but with breakfast and backup. By the end of the day, her social circle would know. Olivia wasn't one to keep juicy details secret, especially when the truth had been marinating for months. And me? I wasn't done. This was just the second act. Next stop, the man she cheated with. Because as bold as she was, she forgot something very important. I don't forgive. I outplay Chase Donovan. That name alone could curdle a glass of milk. It had that smug rhythm to it, 2 syllables of trust fund confidence, topped with a jawline that worked harder than his resume. He was the kind of guy who thought charisma was a currency and women were vending machines. My wife had been one of them. And today? Today, Chase was going to get a gift. See, when I left breakfast with Olivia, I didn't just walk out with a clear conscience and a fresh croissant. I walked out with a plan. Because revenge isn't always loud. Sometimes it's slow, patient, wrapped in politeness and tape, and delivered to someone's desk with a signature required. I started by calling in a favor. A friend of mine, Marcus, worked in HR for the same tech firm where Chase strutted around pretending to mentor people. I gave Marcus a call and asked one simple question. Does your company still have that strict zero-tolerance policy on internal relationships? There was a pause, then a chuckle. Why? Marcus asked. You about to stir something? Just wondering if anonymous packages still make people nervous. Man, you're dangerous when you sound calm, he said. He wasn't wrong. Later that afternoon, I walked into a print shop with a flash drive and a mission. What I handed them was tasteful, professional. No cussing, no revenge porn, no smoking guns. Just screenshots. Chats between Chase and Ashley, each one timestamped. Some about meeting up at the hotel. Some from my wife's work email. The ones that stung the most? The ones where they mocked me. He still thinks she's sick, Chase wrote. Poor guy's probably sightseeing while I'm giving your shirt back, she replied. They laughed in text. So I printed it. I had it all bound neatly in a glossy report cover. Cover page, inappropriate conduct, a timeline. No name on it. No return address. Just clean documentation, page numbers, and a sticky note on the front that read, for HR. From a concerned party. Then I had it delivered, same-day courier, to his office. I imagined him opening it in his overpriced ergonomic chair, feet probably kicked up on the desk like a Bond villain with a calendar. He'd flip the first page, expecting praise or maybe a promotion letter. And then, boom. His own words. His own jokes. His own downfall. Because Chase didn't just break up a marriage. He violated company policy, used Ashley's company email to coordinate personal affairs, and bragged about it like the office was a locker room. That kind of behavior tends to wrinkle even the most iron corporate reputations. But I wasn't done. No, the package was the appetizer. The main course? That came the next morning, when I walked into his gym. The man was predictable. Same 7:30 a.m. slot. 5 days a week. Same sleeveless shirt, flexing in the mirror like the dumbbells were watching. I didn't confront him. That's too theatrical. Instead, I went to the front desk and left something for him. A small box. Inside, the hotel room keycard. A printed copy of his chat logs. A photo of Ashley in the hotel room, drinking wine in his shirt, dated and timestamped. And a simple handwritten note. Next time, make sure the husband isn't smarter than you. No signature. No threats. Just a mirror held up to his ego. I watched from the parking lot as he came out 10 minutes later, holding the box like it was radioactive. His eyes darted like a man who just realized the walls weren't just closing in, they'd been watching him the whole time. He stood by his car, opened the box, flipped through the contents. Then, he kicked his front tire so hard the car alarm went off. Poetry. Meanwhile, I sent one last message to Ashley. Not to open a dialogue, not to make peace. Just closure, my way. You lied. You cheated. You mocked. But the worst part? You thought I wouldn't fight back. That's where you underestimated me. You broke the vows. I just broke the silence. She replied, eventually. What did you do to him? I didn't answer. I didn't need to. She'd find out soon enough when Chase stopped replying. When his LinkedIn suddenly read, open to opportunities. When the man she bet everything on started disappearing from her life the same way he entered mine, like a shadow with a grin. You see, I didn't need to scream. I didn't need to break anything. I just let the truth walk in wearing a suit and carrying receipts. And it spoke louder than any punch ever could. But the story's not over. Because there's one more loose thread. One more player in this drama who thinks they've gotten away clean. Ashley's boss, the one who helped cover for her, let her clock in late, sign off early, and travel for client meetings while she was actually playing house with Chase. He's next. Because if she wanted to play with fire, I'm happy to be the guy holding the match. If Chase was the spark, her boss was the lighter fluid. I didn't know the full extent of his involvement at first. But when you start tugging at threads in a story full of lies, you eventually find the ones that hold up the whole tent. Turns out, Ashley's work flexibility wasn't just about productivity. It was about proximity, to Chase, to secret weekends, and to excuses you couldn't verify if you weren't on the inside. Her boss, Derek Mayfield, was exactly the kind of man who thought confidential meant complicit. He approved bogus conference travel, signed off on fake consulting invoices, covered shifts she never worked, helped file expense reports that included spa receipts, hotel upgrades, and wine tastings listed under client engagement, all while knowing she was sleeping with her colleague. I learned this the same way I learned everything else, slowly, quietly, and with an attention to detail born from betrayal. You'd be surprised what you can piece together from public calendars, LinkedIn posts, and Ashley's own carelessness. She'd left her work tablet in the drawer when I moved out. Password protected? Sure. But like most people, she'd reused the same code from her birthday, the one I used to toast every year with a cake and a blindfold surprise. Once I got in, it didn't take long to find Derek's name. His emails weren't flirty. No, he was too smart for that. But they were protective, defensive, the kind of tone you use when you know the person you're covering for is breaking rules and you're doing just enough to dodge HR's radar. One email stood out. Let's mark Friday as a client lunch so your PTO balance doesn't flag. And remember to use the Chase account for reimbursement, less auditing there. The Chase account. Even his name was in the accounting trail. Like breadcrumbs from a fool's banquet. I packaged the emails. Every one. Forwarded them from her tablet to a new Gmail I created under the name of a fake employee, janelle.reporting@gmail.com. Attached spreadsheets. Screenshots. Included a summary for context, just in case their compliance team needed it spelled out in bullet points. Then I sent it to her company's anonymous ethics hotline. And just to ensure they didn't miss it, I CC'd the board. You'd think I'd feel satisfaction hitting send. But that wasn't it. It was clarity. A kind of surgical silence that settles in when you realize people built their castles on you, and now you're the earthquake. Ashley thought I'd vanish quietly. Chase thought I'd punch and get arrested. Derek thought he'd be immune. But none of them considered the man who doesn't scream. They forgot about the man who documents, who builds timelines, who waits. Derek's fallout came fast. The HR audit was swift and surgical. By the end of the week, he was escorted out of the building, briefcase in one hand, cardboard box in the other. You know the look. Tie loosened. Eyes stunned. Reputation bleeding. Ashley. She was next. Her phone blew up. First from coworkers, then from her manager's replacement. I didn't have to hack her inbox to know what they said. I could imagine it just fine. Please report to the compliance office at 9 a.m. Pending investigation, you are relieved of all client access. We've received several reports regarding improper conduct and misuse of company resources. She tried texting me. This time, her tone had shifted. What do you want from me? And finally, please, just stop. But here's the thing about justice. It doesn't pause because the guilty get uncomfortable. I wasn't trying to ruin her life. I was just introducing her to the reality she built for herself. Brick by brick, lie by lie. But I wasn't done. Because there was one final message I needed her to read. One she couldn't ignore or delete. One that didn't come as a notification, but as an invitation. I had Olivia hand-deliver it. Enclosed in an envelope with a wax seal, because if you're going to be dramatic, you might as well commit. Inside? A single photo. From our trip. The one she never saw me take. It was of her. Standing in the hotel lobby. Arms around Chase. Both of them laughing, bags at their feet. I took it the moment I walked in that morning, before they noticed me. Before the silence. Before the leaving. Underneath the photo was a note written in clean block letters. This is what betrayal looks like. Frame it. No name. No threats. No apologies. Just history. Delivered. Because while she spent months rewriting our marriage behind my back, I only needed a week to write the ending. But make no mistake, this wasn't about revenge anymore. This was about reclaiming the truth. People always ask, why not just move on? I did. But I took the wreckage with me, cleaned it up, organized it, labeled it, and then returned it to cinder. They set the fire. I just let them burn in it. The thing about betrayal is, it doesn't just live in the memory, it stains the walls. Every house holds its own ghosts, and mine? Mine was a mansion built on silence and the slow erosion of trust. Ashley was gone. Technically. Physically. She'd packed up the essentials after HR let her go, walked out of the apartment we used to call a home and into a rented condo downtown. Said she needed space. Said she needed time. Time for what? To process? I gave her time. I gave her space. I gave her everything. And she used it all to build an affair like a second career. Now, the house was mine again. Legally, emotionally, spiritually. But I didn't rush to fill it with noise. No rebound parties. No wild furniture rearrangement. I left everything as it was, because I wanted it to feel uncomfortable for her. I had the locks changed, of course. Left her keycard in an envelope with the doorman and a note that read, "This isn't your door anymore." But I also made one final gesture, quiet but impossible to miss. In the bedroom, I mounted a single frame on the wall where our wedding portrait used to hang. Inside it, the hotel invoice from our anniversary trip. Highlighted in bold was the minibar charge from the night she was sick, wine, chocolates, and 2 toothbrushes. That frame stayed. Because if she ever came back, just to see, just to try, I wanted her to walk through that door and remember, this place remembers everything. Not everyone left. In fact, Olivia stayed closer than I expected. Maybe it was guilt. Maybe it was solidarity. Or maybe, just maybe, she'd seen the whole thing coming and was waiting for me to catch up. We started talking more. Not dating. Not anything rushed or foolish. But we talked. Dinners. Coffee. Conversation. She told me about Ashley's past patterns, the flirtations that weren't quite cheating, the emotional affairs that got swept under the rug. I asked why she never warned me. I tried, she said, twirling a wine glass in her hand. But you looked at her like she was still gold. And no one believes their treasure is fake until it turns green. Fair enough. I thanked her. For the warning. For the honesty. For breakfast. She smiled. You ever need someone to remind you how sharp you are? Call me. Funny thing, betrayal sharpens people. But so does friendship. And Olivia? She became my whetstone. Eventually, Ashley called. Not to apologize. Not really. She started with, I don't know what happened to us, which is basically cheater code for I'm still trying to pretend we were both wrong. I let her talk. I owed myself that much. Not her, the me that stayed silent too long. She cried. Said Chase wasn't what she thought. Said the job was all she had left. Said her friends had backed away, and that Olivia had turned against her. She didn't turn, I said. She faced the truth. Ashley sniffled. So that's it? After everything, I'm just done. No, I replied calmly. You were done a long time ago. I'm just catching up. She went quiet for a while, then asked the question they all eventually ask. Do you still love me? I could have lied. I could have said yes, said no, said maybe. But I told her the truth. I don't even know you. It's been 6 months now. Chase lost his job. Ashley moved to another city. Derek, last I heard, was consulting from his basement and blaming corporate politics. The fallout is done. And me? I'm fine. Really. Not bitter. Not angry. Just clear. People think revenge is about rage. It's not. Real revenge is just closure delivered cold, without drama, without screaming. Just the truth, packed, sealed, and signed. You know what I did last week? Booked a solo trip. Back to the same hotel. Same room. Just me, a good book, and a bottle of red wine. Room service knocked once. The server smiled and asked, You been here before? I smiled. Oh yeah, I said. Last time, I left a ghost behind. This time, I'm just visiting. And I tipped her double. Because I could. Because I moved on. Because I won.